So today's episode of Be Bell is with the fabulous Jennie McGinn. Now, sometimes people come into your life for a reason. They bring a little bit of magic. They probably don't even realise that they brought that magic. And today I really understood why all the magic she brings is so important. So I hope you enjoy this week's episode of Be Bell. So welcome to this week's episode of Be Bell, and I'm delighted, and I'm going to get your name right, Jennie. Jennie McGinn is with me today, and look, I always get her name wrong, so today I finally perfected it. It's taken me time, but we're here, so welcome.
Thank you so much, Anne. Thank you.
No, I'm delighted to have you. I know, obviously, really, we met super recently, and I was saying to you just before we came on that a lot of people have said, oh my God, people that I work with, and I'm like, I was going to speak to Jennie on Thursday, and they're like, oh my God, ask her about this, ask her about that. And I'm like, look, leave it with me, because I'm so excited, because every time I do this, I discover new things and I learn so much. Yeah. But for you, I suppose, where did it all begin?
So, like the Big Bang moment, like when I was conceived.
Yeah, tell me all about it. I'm sure your mum and dad were delighted.
So I'm from a big family.
Yeah.
I'm one of 6 girls. And to be honest, I nearly feel like that is part of my core identity. Like, it's so rare that I won't meet somebody and like the fast follow is like I'm one of 6 girls. Yeah. That's how much it's shaped who I am. But to start off, I'm the eldest. So we were born in Tala, and myself, Sarah and Grace came along in Tala, and then we moved to Naas. So I had a bit of a start in Dublin and then moved out to the suburbs. And my dad was a builder, so we kind of moved around a little bit.
Yes.
And sister 5 and 6, Lorna and Rachel, came along in Naas, and then quite a big gap.
Yeah, I was going to ask, because I'm one of 5 girls.
Yeah.
But there's 20 years between the oldest and the youngest.
Yeah, same. Yeah. 20 years. Yeah. I celebrated my 40th in February, and Anna celebrated her 21st. So 19 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that though, don't you?
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say it really molds you, because I believe that too.
Yeah.
And I didn't live, actually, there's such a gap. I didn't really live with my younger 2 sisters I've never lived with one sister.
Yeah.
And then the other one I only lived with when she moved here with me. But we all actually grew up with the same morals and the same...
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's it.
So doesn't that just prove that good parenting is just good parenting?
Yeah. We are so similar. Like, if anybody was to meet any one of us independently, we always have people comment on like we don't look super alike.
Yeah.
But we have very similar manners and tones. Like, even the way we gesticulate, the way we talk, the way we tell stories. And we're all just, we're very friendly and very approachable, and we absolutely all have the same moral compass. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny, when my sister Claire moved over here, actually, she came to work for me, and I said to her, I had a lot of staff, and I said, don't mention, no one will know you're my sister, we don't look alike. And she talks like that. So I said, no one will know. I think it took 10 minutes. Everybody was kind of staring at her, because she's tiny as well. She's like a little mouse. Yeah. And they were just staring at her, and then they went, are you 2 sisters? Yeah. And I was like, oh God, yeah, we are.
It's just some vibe, some energy. I mean, it's not always the case, but we were brought up really, we were just super, super close. That's how our mom shaped it.
And being the oldest then, did you take on that role?
Yeah. And I think it's so funny, I've seen a lot of commentary on social media in the last year or two about like eldest sister problems, and you're an elder sister if you do X, Y, and Z. It's not conscious at all.
No.
You are the eldest sister. You just take on a lot. Nobody's really asked you to. I mean, okay, like there's subtle things where maybe, you're expected to set a good example and yada. But otherwise, you don't know any different. It's just your place. That's just how you were born. You were born first. Yeah. But I will say now, right, I'm the eldest, and it's actually sister number 4, Lorna, who's like the mom of the family. So I am... like, I look out for everybody. I am really supportive of everybody. But Lorna is just this crazy maternal, like she always wanted to be a mom. Yeah. And so she's kind of the mom. She looks after everybody in terms of like feeding people properly and having people stay in her home and stuff like that. Whereas I'm like, okay, guys, what's your next career move? Yeah, you can do it. Come on, I'm going to be behind you one step of the way, every step of the way. So, yeah.
It's always interesting, is that we take, like, I'm the second, but actually my third sister, she's like the nucleus of the family.
Yeah.
We gravitate, everybody gravitates to her because the two youngest, she was their older sister. There was a gap.
Totally, yeah.
And then, but I'd be both because I love cooking. We were talking about this earlier. I love cooking and I love just, if I go to visit anybody, I'm like, you don't have to worry about the kitchen. I take the food and I love entertaining.
Oh my God, will you come to stay in my house,
girl,
please?
Honestly, that's like my dream job, is just to go into people's houses and feed them.
Wow.
I'm a secret feeder.
Oh, I'm terrible.
But yeah, no, I love those roles. And so growing up, like, were your sisters like your best friends too? The ones that closest to you, like at school? Did you hang around together?
So we were always extremely close. Like I would say abnormally close. I think there was a period maybe of 2 or 3 years in the teenage years where we fought over clothes. But that is really the height of it. Now there's kind of 2 years, 2 years, 3 years, 3 years.
Okay.
So we were never like in the same year. And we were all independent and all had our own sets of friends. But even now, like if I'm thinking about it, like we would know each other's friends really well. We would all hang around with each other's friends and stuff like that. And actually, even with the youngest too, like I'm still really, really close with them. It's like, for me, each sister kind of represents, because I'm the oldest, they represent a different part of my life that I can tap into. Do you know what I mean? Like with the youngest, sometimes I kind of like to party with her, but I have to like look after her as well at the same time. My second youngest is living in London and it just reminds me of when I was living in London. So I like to go over to her and like relive my London life. So yeah, I am a slightly different me with all of them, which I think is gorgeous. But no, we would have all very much had our own like groups of friends in
And what
school.
were you like at school? Were you the academic? Were you the sporty? Were you just having the crack like me?
I'd say I was definitely a type A.
Yeah.
Again, that just comes with the territory, I think, of being one of the oldest. And again, no pressure coming from anywhere, all internal. Like, in fact, my parents did everything they could to try and de-stress me. But I'd say I was one of those kind of all-rounders. Like I loved school, loved learning, loved having the crack, loved sport. But I wasn't into team sports, surprisingly. But I was just myself and the friends that I am so close with still to this day. We were kind of the group in school that were kind of friends with everybody. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
like
the butterflies. That's me.
Yeah,
exactly.
Social. Yeah. So I really loved learning, but not at the absolute cost of like having a social life. Yeah. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, that was probably the seeds or the beginning of like always having to push myself in every direction. Like burning the candle at both ends and all of that sort of stuff. Probably started in secondary school.
We train ourselves young, don't we? We do, though. I was exactly the same. I was like, that was really important to me, people. But that's actually, because I'm not an academic per se, that's how I learn. I was very clever at hanging around with clever people.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
So I would ask them for all the information from the class after the class. Yeah. Because they could say it in my language.
Oh, that is clever. Yeah. Really clever.
Well, I'd never have got through it if I hadn't. You find, because that's the thing with our brains. We always find a way.
To cope and to make it work for you. Yeah. Even if ostensibly it's not working for you. Yeah. It's the resilience and the resourcefulness. Yeah.
Still doing it today, Jennie. Note where I am. Still doing it today, learning from people. But and family-wise, like your dad was a builder, so busy. Your mum was at home?
So mum actually worked in the Irish Permanent until Rachel, so the fifth sister, came along. And so, sorry, my mum did pass away. Now it will be 4 years in October. But she worked in the bank for as long as possible because she did love working in the bank and she did like having her independence. And mom was super into people. So she was always on the desk and she loved interacting with people. But she used to always say that she had as many children as she possibly could so she could go on as many maternity leaves as she could. Okay. So she'd like try and do it back to back if possible. She actually said she would have kept having kids forever if she could. She just loved kids. So it was really only when Rachel came along that she finished up and then was a full-time,
Yes.
stay-at-home mom. So the benefit that I had was she was at home when I was going through like 5th and 6th year.
Okay.
Which was incredible.
Yeah.
And actually because obviously, you don't really know, with so many things in life, you don't know what the best way is because there's always A's and B's and different ways of doing things. But Mom used to always say to me that of her experience of all the different ages and all the different stages, that she thought the best time to be at home was actually when we were teenagers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because you might think like when you're really young.
Yeah.
But she was like, I was there as a constant source of just reliability and quiet support. Because, you're teenagers, you're moody, you might come home, not speak, have a strap on you, just not be very, sometimes able to vocalize what you're going through. And Mum's like, I was there to talk if you needed that, but I was just there.
Yeah.
And that is what gave you that sense of kind of inner confidence. And I don't because there's always like an ongoing debate about whether you should take the time off when the kids are young and I don't know, but that piece of advice from Mom always sticks in my head. And I feel like I benefited from that.
Yeah, I think you have to, because none of us know.
No, we don't know.
And it's so individual, isn't it? All parenting is individual.
Totally.
I don't have kids, but I have 4 sisters with kids and I've got opinions on them all. And I tell them. But yeah, no, they're all slightly different, but they all have lovely, lovely children.
Yeah.
Which I get to pass back, which is even better.
I know.
But yeah, no, I think that is interesting because it's so weird, isn't it? I always talk about the decades of life, and every decade I hit, I always go, oh God, I was a bit of a twat in the last one. Do you know what I mean? And then you get to your 40s and you go, oh, okay, now I'm feeling quite comfortable here. And then you get to your 50s and you go, I'm now a legend. Do you know what I mean? So you've got all that to look forward to. But so God, I always say every time, because you just feel so different. And I think as teenagers now, I've got a couple of nieces that have hit that, and they're more open to listen these days.
Yeah, are they?
Yeah, I wasn't.
Yeah.
I remember turning around to my mum when I was about 25 and say, I stayed in London and lived by myself at 16, and I said to her, you shouldn't let me do that,
Yeah.
That was as I got older, I was like, I'd never have let my child do that.
Yeah.
And so I completely get what your mum is saying, because that is the time you need people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's the time you're going to make, not mistakes, because I think mistakes are good, but you need someone to throw those mistakes on.
Listen, you're on the cusp of adulthood, but you're still a child.
Yeah.
So you've got one foot in either camp and you don't know what you don't know. And it is your duty, I think, as a teenager, right? It's just part of being a teenage, like it's the DNA to rebel against
100%.
Any inherited wisdom or any set of like practical pieces of advice, but you still need it.
Yeah.
You need it to rebel and push against. And thankfully for me, again, maybe a bit of the older sister piece, but I was never like particularly like rebellious, or if you like, I'd be very clever about being rebellious. I was very sneaky.
I did it really sneakily.
Yeah. So I kind of got away with murder. The next sister unfortunately got caught with everything. Poor Sarah. But I never really had that much tension or friction with my parents. And to be fair, neither did really any of my sisters. Like more, just a couple of months of just the argy-bargy, having to kind of assert your opinions, your newfound opinions in the world. But otherwise, we were really lucky.
And did you have a sense of what you wanted to do? Or what, because I've changed careers 25 times. So, and I always see, especially since I moved here, I always see this pressure at that time of year, like make choices. And I'm like, make the choice not to make a choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I would love to somehow be involved in like the education system and really just encourage and like explain and educate around the taking of the break or the doing the practical courses for a while, doing a short course in this and a 6 month in that and a 9 month in that. I did the whole thing. So I did the degree, then I went and did a postgrad cert, and then I went back and did a master's. In school, I was very academic and I was a high achiever, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I think the standard answer at the time, if you didn't know what to do, and let's say you were social,
Yes.
was sociology,
Okay.
social work, maybe psychology. So I was like, I can't say any of those things are lighting a fire inside of me. But also, how would you know? Like, I did my leaving cert at 17. I didn't do transition year. How would you know? How would you know that psychology is the route for you at 17? Like,
Well, you don't, do you?
no, it's absolutely, and you don't even know what sociology is.
Yeah.
I think it's great if you know from day dot that there's a vocational career inside of you. Brilliant. And maybe you come from a background where there's like, you know, a lineage of that. But I didn't. And all I kind of knew was I loved learning and I loved the thirst and the hunt for knowledge. So eventually I settled on communications.
Brilliant.
In DCU, which is just an all-rounder.
Yeah.
And it was, that course at the time was only 3 years. I think they've extended it now, but I was 17 going to college in Dublin. And that was interesting. I didn't understand that, you know, O'Connell Street wasn't pedestrianised and Grafton Street was. I didn't understand north from south. Like it was, and I moved up to Dublin straight away.
Yes.
So that was a bit of a shock to the system.
Where did you move to then? I have to know.
Not Temple Bar.
Temple Oak?
No.
Oh.
I was in City Centre.
City Centre. Oh, great.
Yeah. I was there for like 2 years. How could I not remember? Thomas Street. Thomas Street. Because I moved with 3 of my best friends and 3 of them were going south side.
Brilliant.
They were going to UCD and I was going north side. So we said, okay, we'll go into the middle. But yeah, so communications was, at the time, it was primarily an academic course and had a photography, video and radio module. So you got a taste of that. And then otherwise it was all this theoretical, like cross-cultural communication and all that sort of stuff, which like I loved. But at the end of the 3 years, we always joke, any of my friends from communications, you're kind of qualified to chat shit at a dinner party.
To communicate. Sounds like a great course.
It was. But yeah, you're not really any the wiser at the end of it now. And I know people who went back and did teaching afterwards.
Okay.
Some people went back to do law. A few people went straight into media. But they were like, it was a handful. A lot of us took circular routes thereafter. But I have only the best things to say about that programme. I just loved it. I loved having access to so many different types of knowledge and thoughts and opinions and the little tasters of the practical stuff as well.
Yeah, like that.
Was just, I think if somebody really wanted to get into media, like they would have found this a bit lacking. Do you know, they might have wanted to do the multimedia. But I made the greatest friends there. And when I was in college, like that was really the beginning of me throwing myself into absolutely everything.
Okay.
So like I was in, you know, like I can't even remember what they're called. Oh yeah. I was in some societies. I was, you know, really out there socialising. I was out. And also, I've made friends in DCU, but of course a lot of my friends are in UCD. We're in Galway, so we're in the UK. So then you're socialising.
Absolutely.
Every which way, which again is the benefit of college. Not socialising for the sake of socialising, but getting to meet so many different people.
It's connections.
Absolutely.
All connections.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like I always say, you know, when I've been in the shit, it's probably people from 25 years ago that have come out of the woodwork to help me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's those old connections.
Totally.
And you suddenly remember that person. You know, I remember what they did and what effect they had on me.
Yeah.
People affect us much sooner than we realise, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Shan. And also I think your mind is expanded as well. You know what I mean? By just meeting lots of different types of people and hearing their stories and seeing what they're going through and what their thoughts are on things. So from that perspective, that's like the most enriching thing about going to something like college. A college.
So fun times we have in Dublin?
Very fun times are had. Very fun times. And actually that was probably the first point as well, which I maybe struggled a little bit with. Kind of, you know, you're coming from school and there's such a focus on, you know, learning and you know, the leaving certain blah 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 blah. And then when I went into college, I was like, oh, do I still have to work at that pace, or do I balance the pace and socializing a bit more? And then I was like, oh God, it's not that it wasn't, the class wasn't super competitive, but I was like, oh, there's people here that are top of the class from all over the country, you know, and all of a sudden you're not. And then you're like, well, I don't want to stay chained to my desk either. So it was like, oh, okay. So, you know, I suppose struggling a little bit. Yeah. And like I entered college being like, oh, I'm getting a first at the end. And I didn't. And I suppose, I think it was a really good thing. Do you know what I mean? To just be like, this is not what life is about. Always trying to be the best at everything, you know?
Yeah.
So I think I struggled with that a little bit in the first year, understanding that. And then towards the end, I was like, oh no, I just do my best at what I can with the circumstances that are here, because I'm not compromising one thing for the other, you know? So I think that was a good accidental learning curve. And then also, I've always worked. Okay, so that is definitely something from my parents. I think from like 14, so probably from like 12, babysat. From about 14, we used to have Punchestown races and Ace races. So we'd always do the catering and the bar work and all of that. And then part-time evening work in the restaurants around Ace. And I worked in our local Centra. God, I think I worked there on and off for about 3 or 4 years. Then when I got to college, I worked in Claire's Accessories.
Oh, did you know?
I did. And I specifically worked there.
So to pierce people. Only joking.
To what?
To pierce people.
Oh my God, I did learn how to pierce people. Hungover.
Oh God.
As a college student. But no, it was actually to bring bits and pieces back home to my sisters.
Okay.
You know?
Amazing.
I knew I would get bits and pieces. And also it was my first experience learning how to merchandise in retail, you know?
Do you know what? I just popped into a couple of shops in here and I was in Penny's and I was like, my God, my boss would have killed me.
Yes.
Back in the day. I was like, if she's going to dress a mannequin, dress it properly.
Yeah.
This mannequin looked like I'd been on a night out. But yeah, merchandise, so important, isn't it? Visual.
Oh my God, I will still go into Centras and like subconsciously, not Centras, like any shop. Yeah, move the chocolate around when I'm standing at the till or the crisps.
Yeah.
But then also because of communications, like random job opportunities would come our way. So like I did a whole summer of like proof editing scripts.
Oh wow.
Like I wasn't qualified to proof edit scripts, but anyway, you had to apply for it and I got the gig. So, you know, a bit of that, there was a radio station at the time and I did a culture section on it with a couple of friends. So always working.
Yeah.
Paid, unpaid, just always throw myself into things. So that was good. But yeah, I did finish communications being like, what am I?
Yeah, I was going to say, having always worked though, like I feel like you were well ahead of the game before you started that course. Do you know what I mean? And I think that we forget this now, you know, like we don't, a lot of our kids aren't working like we worked.
Yeah.
And I just think they're missing out on so much. Yeah. It's actually really scary. It made me agree with you. 100%.
I think everybody has to, like, I don't know if maybe this needs to be on the school curriculum, but everybody needs to experience retail for an extended period of time because it is not just about hangers and tills. It is about managing difficult people, managing stressful situations, being able to count quickly in your head, which I now still really struggle to do, managing stock. Being afraid, I think. Being afraid a little bit of authority. Being afraid to be late.
As I say, understand like the hierarchy.
Yeah.
You know, that sometimes you can get things wrong and that's how you're allowed to get things wrong. I think that's one thing we really struggle with at the moment.
Yes.
I tell a story. I was in a transition class about 4 years ago and I asked the girls there was 2 things that shocked me. I asked the girls to put up their hand who had a job and there's only 2 girls out of a room of about 45 that had a job.
Wow.
And they were embarrassed by it. And then when we got into a conversation about what they spent their money on and what permissions they needed, all the other girls were like, actually, I want a job.
Oh,
because I don't have to ask my mum if I go and buy that. Do you know what I mean? You just go and buy it. And then the second thing was I got them to do a little social media thing very quickly and I had a great prize for the team that won. And the first question was, are we really going to win it? They didn't trust me.
Oh, wow.
So that was the 2 things that shot you. Really disappointing. So there was this lack of trust. And then the second thing was embarrassment for having a job, but actually like in my day, everybody had a
Same.
job. Everybody.
Absolutely. No embarrassment whatsoever.
Afford to go out on the lash
like,
at 14 if you didn't have a job.
Completely. But this is how you went out at the weekend. This is how you went to festivals.
Yeah.
This is how you got like, you know, your bag, any accessories, any makeup. So maybe there's also that.
Yeah.
Like, what are you getting that you might previously have had to work for?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know? But I think it puts hairs on your chest for later on in life. And I think, unfortunately, if you're only exposed to the intricacies of the workplace later on in life, you haven't built up the resilience. And
that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
we have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're ahead of the game. What did you decide to do?
Well, yeah, I had a moment of panic. And probably after going to Sonar Festival for a week and a half just before handing in my thesis, I was probably dealing with the after effects of that. But I actually took a job in, it doesn't exist now, the Asperger's Association of Ireland.
Okay.
As their executive administrator or something like that. So it was looking back, it's a pretty senior job and a lot of money at the time for just coming out of college. I'd always had an affinity with doing like little bits of altruistic work here. Sorry, that's not completely altruistic. I was obviously a paid job, but you know what I mean? I was like, I might see what I can do in the charity and the nonprofit sector for a while. So I did that for 6 months and I learned so much about, obviously now we don't say Asperger's, it's the spectrum, but still I learned so much about the spectrum at the time. Now my role was primarily office-based. I was in the field a little bit, but it was primarily office-based. But again, I was 20 finishing college, and I was like organising international conferences in Dublin, you know, like expert speakers in their fields to come over. I was like helping with fundraising, was helping managing the database. I remember having to go into Trinity Halls to have a breakfast with like some senior member of the Trinity management team. Like just crazy stuff. Yeah. Again, for like so young, you know?
Yeah.
And I really did love what I was doing. And I was getting paid quite a bit of money, but I was like, this is like, where's like the burning passion? So, sorry, I didn't really allude to this, but like when I was younger, I did always love fashion.
Yeah.
Okay. Not in the traditional sense. Like I wasn't somebody who was like, I love how things are put together and I love cutting things out and making stuff, right? Because I did have an art teacher in third year tell me that I wasn't creative enough. So that kind of stopped me. I know, that stopped me dead in my tracks. I was like, I could never be a fashion designer or any practical making types of things, but I always loved fashion. So it's like, okay, right, well, I love fashion, but like not fashion design. And I love writing/talking. So I found a course in the London College of Fashion, which was fashion and lifestyle journalism. So I was like, oh, wow, this is kind of an interesting blend. Also going to London, also going to the London College of Fashion, crazy. So I got accepted onto that course. It's just 6 months, but
and where did you live in London?
I moved 3 times in the first week and a half.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I ended up living in Bethnal Green.
Okay, nice.
For the whole time after the first 3 moves. Again, this person who didn't know North and South Dublin.
I was going to say, you'd like the North.
Honestly,
you end up there.
I didn't know how the tube line worked. Look, I'm not one of those. I'm much better now, but even my friends would joke, like if we're doing anything, somebody else would always book. Okay. Like I'm not that logistic person. I don't know why. It's just like this like black hole in my mind where it takes me a lot of effort, of mental effort to coordinate how to get to places. And that's why I'm always early.
I touch wood, like I've always just been really lucky, I think. Yeah. Actually, I've always lived in the south side everywhere I've ever lived.
Really?
But I never knew the north or south before I got there.
Like you just said I lived on the north side. Like I was like, is Bethnal Green on the north side?
Bethnal Green would be north. Yeah. Well,
there you
that
go.
Side of London. So I'd be southwest, Richmond, Wimbledon.
Well, I lived in Richmond for 3 nights. Oh, yeah, in a squat.
Very nice.
I lived in a very posh squat.
Okay.
I was like, this is absolutely not for me. No way. No, thank you.
I can just imagine. I can picture it actually because I know those houses, like they're massive 4-story Victorian houses in Richmond. Yeah.
Some of the bedrooms don't have doors on them. Yeah. Like there's always like a low level rumbling music.
Green all the way.
So yeah, I turned 21 on the second day I was in London. And I remember feeling very despondent because I was like, I'm all alone. I don't know anybody. I have to go to Marks and Spencer to buy duvet sheets. I couldn't believe this. I couldn't believe when you rented places like, I was lucky that I got a place that had furniture in it.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I don't know. I had to buy a duvet. Like, do you know what I mean?
You sound like my sister when she moved in with me. What do you mean I have to buy a towel?
Yeah. So anyway, I was traipsing around Oxford Street buying all these
Oxford Street.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that was probably the worst place to go. But anyway, that's all I knew. And I just remember my mom rang me at one stage. I was walking around Marks and Spencer with my shopping trolley full of things I've never had to buy before in my life. And she was wishing me a happy birthday. And I was like, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? Like, I don't know anybody here. Yeah. But anyway, I got through that day and started the course. And again, just an incredible experience for every other reason other than the content of the course.
Okay. Yeah.
I realised swiftly that the fashion industry wasn't really my cup of tea, which is interesting because I've bounced around fashion now for many years since. But it was being in the London College of Fashion is an incredible experience. It is so creative. It is so colourful. It just boggles the mind. Like, it is such an immersive experience into how far people can push their creative limits, you know? So from that experience, it was amazing. I had, a great bunch of people on the course, and I had, the tutors were incredible, Sunday Times style editor, Marmalade. Yeah, exactly. But I just I went, again, as is my way, I did 3 internships at the same time, did the course, went to loads of events, and I was like, oh, it's a little bit bitchy.
Yeah.
It's a little bit insular, it's a little bit bitchy, it's a little bit protective. So I kind of ended up concentrating more on the lifestyle journalism side of it. And I did my final magazine that you had to make and submit was all around like the bicycle subculture in London. So it's really nothing to do with fashion at all. But I had like a culture section, and I went and I interviewed this guy who was running this immersive short film experience in London. And I went to one and I asked to interview him afterwards, and we had a great chat. And it was just short films in a really cool venue where people were dressed up, and I don't know, it was just nothing like anything I'd ever seen before. So then he was saying to me, well, if you're from Ireland, like, you have such a rich history of film and culture and short film, and he was listing all these directors in these short films. Like, I have this company set up as a franchise, and we're in like 17 different countries, and we're not in Ireland. How would you feel about taking it back home to Ireland? So that's what I did when I left London.
Wow.
Took it home, set it up as a limited company. It's the first company I set up with a group of friends, and we ran Future Shorts Ireland for about just under 2 years. And we did it like our own way. You had license to do whatever way you wanted to do it. Yeah.
So you moulded it to your, absolutely.
And it was like just brilliant. It was like a creative mini revolution. That's what we felt like we were doing in Dublin at the time. So we had a monthly festival, a monthly night where we would screen short films from Ireland and around the world. And then every time we mixed it up, we would have a director speak. We would have a band or a DJ score one of the films. We'd have theme nights where you had to dress up. We'd have like different food at different ones. It was, and we were just constantly, we had very little money, so we were constantly coming up with ways to make it as big and as bold and as different as possible. Loads of guerrilla marketing.
Brilliant.
Loads of like flyering stickers and posters and graffiti. And then we started doing collaborations. So we did like a collaboration with the Project Arts Theatre, where we had this amazing jazz band do a live score of Faust. Then we like curated a whole afternoon for Electric Picnic. So like it was just this amazing fertile breeding ground for like ideas and collaborations and creatives and community. But obviously all of those elements that I'm talking about here does not a great company make.
Yes. Sounds like great fun though.
Great fun, but like nobody wanted to do the tax returns.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to do the invoicing. It's because that was boring, you know?
Yeah.
So
ship it.
Yeah, it is the ship it, yeah. Like we had an office and everything. Do you know what I mean? So we wound it down after 2 years for no other reason other than the management side of the business operations was just becoming too kind of cumbersome. Much. Yeah. But incredible experience.
Only we'd known each other.
Yeah.
Only. That's all the shit I love.
Is it?
I love the shit bits.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I don't mind when like forced to do it.
Yes.
Like I wouldn't do it on an ongoing basis. Usually it ends up being like panic mode. Yeah. And then I immerse myself in it for 3 to 5 days. And I'm like, God, that was actually fine. I got through it. I have a brain. It works. It's fine. But it's, if it's living in spreadsheets or living in idea land, I want to live in idea land.
Yeah. No, I love idea land too, but I love numbers. I am that girl that I'm like Rain Man. Yeah.
Are you?
Love numbers.
Do you know what's really funny, Shan, right? A lot of people would say that I'm really commercial, and I am, right? Yeah. I'm really commercial up here. Big picture, big vision, value, you know. This is worth more than that. You're worth more than that. This is how you charge. This is like where we're going after a year, 3 years, 5 years. But it's just the day-to-day bits.
Yeah. Well, I can get so stuck into the management bit and the day-to-day, making sure that everything is as it is.
And it's essential.
Yeah. Oh, no.
It's a pillar.
They're both essential though.
Yeah.
You know, and I can get lost in that bit, that top bit quite often because I live in this space so much with so many people that I work with. But I love it all. I mean, anything to do with business I love. Yeah. It's that simple. But, no, it sounds so amazing. I love that immersive sort of getting involved. And in fact, I can think of a couple of people I have to tell all about this later because I'll be like, why don't you do that? That's like such a good idea. Yeah. And does it still happen around the world?
Yeah. Now he's changed the company into something else. So it's less of a franchise. But this guy, he's just so innovative. His name is Fabian Regal. It's called The World of Cinema or something, I think, like that.
Yeah.
But now they're like maybe ran 3 or 4 times a year and on a huge scale and completely immersive. Like we're talking like taking over ballrooms in Strasbourg and like you know, there's multi-layered interactive elements, or like sometimes you go and it's all in the dark, or sometimes like there's a circus team.
Oh, I'd shit myself. Not going to that. Just been put off.
It's almost like he's just made the whole experience of watching a film a complete event.
And I think that's needed, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, well, and the thing, well, I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but we're always looking to make it better, to make it stronger, to have more feelings, to feel more.
Yes.
Really clever. I love that idea.
And you know what? Like that was so long ago. Was it? Like it's probably 20 years. Oh yeah, sorry. It was 20 years ago.
Yeah, so well ahead of the game.
But he was like, people are becoming desensitized with the cinema experience. Now, don't get me wrong, I go to cinema. Actually, I hardly ever go to cinema anymore because I've no time. And if I do, I always fall asleep. But like, it's it's really commercialized and it's sanitized, and you have to spend a fortune going to the cinema now. And you're not really, everything is about the blockbusters. And he was like, there's room for that, but we also have to go back to our roots and remember that the experience of going to the cinema was about as much about the excitement and the anticipation leading up to you going to cinema and, you know, getting, you know, dressed up as the performance itself.
100%.
So I'll always have a soft spot for the arts side of the world.
Where do you go next then? Because I mean, that just sounds so exciting to me.
Seabody products are powered by the most amazing marine bioactives and rejuvenated properties that deliver transformative results for all skin concerns. Be that reducing wrinkles, increasing firmness in the skin, or improving your skin's texture. Ticking every box for me, it has to be said. Every element has been considered when it comes to this Seabody range of skincare and supplements. They are plant-based, cruelty-free, and, more to the point, super luxurious. My favourite 2 products, has to be said on a personal level, are the Elixir Serum. Absolutely love it. I also love their eye cream and also their fabulous Glycan Moisturiser. Thank you so much, Seabody, for supporting the Be-Bell podcast.
I did. I was doing a lot of freelance journalism in Dublin. So like for the likes of Totally Dublin and Film Ireland. I then, I took on a role short-term contract with the Screen Directors Guild of Ireland, obviously after the short film experience. And I was in the film and arts industry for a couple of years. I went and did a master's in cultural policy and arts management because I was like, okay, once again, I was like, well, I'm not creative. So I'm never going to be a filmmaker, a fashion designer, a photographer, a dressmaker, yada, yada, yada. So I'm not creative. So I might as well learn how best I could support other creative people.
That teacher's got a lot to answer to, doesn't she?
Honestly, I'd say it's only in the last 5 years I started to actually say, no, I am really creative, you know? Same with maths.
Yeah.
Different story there, but wasn't up to doing honours maths.
Yeah.
Just the theory and the abstractness of it all it does not compute. And it's like, oh, well, if you don't do honours maths, then you're not mathematically minded.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So then for years I was like, I'm really bad with numbers.
Yeah.
Really bad. But I'm not, you know?
Gotta be careful what we say.
I know.
We have to be so careful what we say.
And you're talking to somebody who's got quite a lot of inner resolve and self-confidence. But that I was decided and boxed off mentally myself. I'm not creative and I'm not good at numbers. Anyway, so that led me to doing that master's in UCD. And again, just, loved the master's. Yeah. Loved learning, loved the people on it. And it was much more multicultural. We had people coming from all over the world to that master's. And again, very much encouraged to do your internships and, do your, just throw yourself into all of the arts. Now, I came in, my application was all around the intersection between traditional art and digital art.
Okay.
And everybody else came from a real traditional art.
Yes.
Art,
the Crawford.
Yeah.
The art.
Sculpture,
yes.
Opera, So I was always, every time I did something, I was always the slight outlier. I was always doing something a little bit different. But I did my thesis with a company at the time called Candid magazine that Richard Seabrook ran. So Richard Seabrook is an official, unofficial mentor of mine. If you ever listens to this, be like, what the fuck is she on? I haven't spoken to her in ages. But he now runs the creative agency, The 10th Man. He was the creative director in Think House. He was a creative director in, I can't remember what the agency was before that. But he's somebody, I think, he's a bit like me as well. His brain's always going 90 miles an hour. He's always doing loads of different things. But at the time, him and a partner they ran I don't know what is it. It was a movement.
Yeah.
One of the outputs was this digital magazine called Candid. They used to write monthly nights where they'd have creatives, graphic designers, photographers get up and talk about their work. He was very involved in setting up the initial Offset Festival. Anyway, I did my thesis on him, his work, Candid magazine, can digital and digital art, still be included in the canon of traditional art, blah, 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 blah. But most importantly, I met him at the time and we became quite close friends, almost colleagues, mentors, etc. And he really influenced me. But again, I was the one person in the course that was doing, I remember the guy running the program was just trying to have this intellectual battle with me about why I shouldn't do it, I was like, I'm not going to win this battle with you, but I'm still going to do it because I think it's important, So it was, again, one of those experiences where I got to interact with loads of different types of people, loads of different types of communities and organizations, and then built loads of contacts, to this day. I was only at an event recently with somebody that I had done that master's with, and I was invited to that event for one reason, he was invited to that event for another reason. But it just shows you how concentric circles are and how important it is to keep your network up,
Keep in contact.
Yeah.
I think that's it, isn't it? You keep in contact and because we all bring something, and there's days where you go, what am I bringing here? And then someone will tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the magic day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
I love when people tell me.
Yeah. Well, sometimes we need to hear it, because you're I don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is why you're here. You're okay, that makes complete sense. And sometimes it can just be to bring people together.
Exactly.
It's that simple.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I love that. And I think that meeting those mentors along the way is super, super important.
Yeah. Yeah, he was very influential for me. But then I was doing an internship with Circa Visual Arts magazine at the same time. When I finished the course, they offered me a role doing, I was their marketing and PR manager. So I worked with them for about 2 years. And again, I just had like interesting experiences. They sent me, like I was always like on the periphery of things, like really interested in all of these things. But like I worked for this visual arts magazine. Like I didn't know the artists personally. Like I didn't go to NCAD or any of that sort of stuff. But one of my roles was to go over to the Venice Biennale on my own and set up the Circa Visual Arts. I don't know what it was at the time, like a stand, or we were maybe sponsoring one of the artists to go over or whatever. And like I would not have those experiences if I didn't just throw myself into things, even if I felt like I didn't go to NCAD or I'm on the periphery or I wasn't trained in that. Yeah. I'll still throw my hat into the ring. And yeah, like I'll feel uncomfortable and I'll have challenges getting to the right airport. Yeah.
Not the right plane.
Or running out of money on the way home, not having the right bank card. But like nobody knows that. Like they're my internal struggles. And like I can't specifically say like what the point of going to Venice and being at the Biennale and setting something up. I don't know exactly what it did for me and my career. That's irrelevant. It was just the experience and the exposure. I mean, put out of my comfort zone and going and having to talk to people from the art world, you know, by myself.
And who's supporting you at this time? You know, you're stepping out of your comfort zone. You're going to these things. You know, have you met your partner? Have you got good friends around you? Yeah. Who's supporting you at that time?
Really, my mum and my dad.
Brilliant.
Yeah, like my friends. My friends are amazing. Like I have friends from primary school that are like my core gals still. But, you know, you've got like a lawyer, recruitment, pharmaceuticals, GP. So they're always kind of like not sure what crazy Jenny's up to at the moment, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I get that. What's she doing now?
We'll support you 100%, but like they don't really get it. But I think my mom, I think we all get that thirst for like just exploring and doing new things from our mom who was just like, yeah, just go for it. Just go for it, you know, just go for it. Dad as well was just like, I have nothing to contribute here because I do not know what you're talking about. Okay. But absolutely, yeah, if you feel you need to do that, do it. So that I'd say like the way we were brought up and our parents, I think it really did help kind of build our internal confidence. I also did drama.
Drama.
I did drama in primary. Useful. Yeah, I think it's good.
Pretend to be other people is super important.
Yeah.
It really is. That's the fake it, make it situation. Yeah. You can be whoever you want to be.
Yeah. And I wasn't balls out, confidence going over there. Do you know, it would have been bricking it inside, but had the ability to just pretend.
And so you're building this amazing CV and you're working for other people and you're learning so much. But at what point do you go, it's my turn?
Well, Shan, I didn't think I was building an amazing CV at the time. I was like...
It's sounding rather impressive here today.
It's for me, and I struggled with this right up until my mid-30s. Yeah. I was like, who am I? What am I? I've bounced around. Nobody can place me. I just seem to have not fallen out of love with things, but like in between all of that, I did short stints. Like I worked in Action Aid Ireland for about 6 months as well. So kind of went back to the nonprofit sector. And I remember just thinking, wow, I feel a bit disillusioned by the fashion world. I feel a bit disillusioned by the nonprofit sector. Only because I was like, wow, this is people with the most limited resources fighting against each other to access the most limited resources. Like I just found that really dispiriting. And then it was a bit similar in the arts world as well. It's like not everybody gets the opportunities. There's so little funding available. So much of your role is like swept up in like the pressure and the competition to get access to very limited pots of money. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I was a bit like, I was definitely having an identity crisis. Like, great, I'm the type of person that will throw themselves into anything, but like, why is nothing sticking? You know, and I'm passionate about everything, but can I not just be passionate about one thing? Yeah. You know what I mean? It would make it easier for me.
Wrong girl here. Sorry.
So I saw that as such a disadvantage.
I think
in my 20s and early 30s. Yeah. Obviously now I feel completely differently about it.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was... After a big surge of energy and excitement, you know, doing a course or having taken on a new project or taken on a new role, I would feel sort of like quite flat afterwards, being like, great, another really fulfilling thing that doesn't really point me in any
Where's it
direction
going?
after.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that, I ended up working with Kildare Library and Art Services on a big contract around how young people engage with the library and art services. It's like a 2-year project. Again, all these little bits now, 10 years later, like I worked for Kildare Library and Art Services to deliver training to people starting their own business. You know what I mean? So everything is interconnected. And that's now I realise why you do all of those things. And after that, I was like, okay, I just need just a stable job. You know, that's not a really exciting project or, you know, really immersive experience. It's a nice steady job for a year or two while I kind of get my head together. And I worked for, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot the name of it. Not ActionAid, sorry. It's like Ireland's largest directory of non-profit organisations.
Rethink.
No, Weblink. Oh my God, I can't believe I was there for 3 years. Yeah,
I'll
sorry.
put it in the show notes, Jenny.
Anyway, I was there for 3 years. Very, very quiet. Just me and one other colleague. And I absolutely loved him. But, you know, got the work done really quickly. So I had lots of time.
Okay.
So that is when me and sisters started the blog.
Okay.
So that was up to that point. It was like moving around a little bit of fashion, moving around the arts, moving around the nonprofit sector. And then that pushed into the fashion blogging content business trajectory for the next 10 years.
And we were all in it.
We were all involved in the blog, right? But like, we even had Anna, who was in primary school, involved in the blog at a stage, right? We do videos with her and stuff like that. But by the time our first business came around, it was only me and Sarah and Grace, because Grace had just finished college.
Okay.
She just qualified. So that was our first business. We were the 3 directors. In the second business together, we were the 3 directors again, and 2 sisters formerly worked for the company.
Okay.
So yeah, and like my mom used to come and help do the accounts and stuff. So it was, but we had we had staff, you know, it wasn't just like full on family affair. So yeah, and I loved working with family.
Yeah.
Like it nearly broke us many, many, many times.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if you can trust anybody as much as you can trust your family.
I completely agree.
You know, when the chips are down, you know, it put an enormous amount of stress on our family. So we did the blog, casual, loved it, but whatever way, we're all built very similar. We're all very driven and motivated and entrepreneurial. We kind of self-organized around this blog and started like having production schedules and like editorial things and going to loads of events and training ourselves up this, that and the other. And so we're like, oh, listen, there must be a way of actually turning this into a business and making money. So the first business did kind of throw us into the tech world because we got our funding in a place in the NDRC, National Digital Research Centre, and their Launchpad program. So we didn't know that we were being thrown into the tech world. But shall I say the stakes were like, they were lower certainly than the second business.
Okay.
And that was stressful enough because it was the start of the journey of like being in a constant position of trying to do the work, trying to validate what you were doing, trying to secure money, trying to get staff, beginning the process of trying to secure money again, trying to validate the second part of it. Oh my God. Yeah, just relentless. But I guess overall it was smaller scale. It was then when we moved into Opsh and we were just on that wave of Irish like logic at the time that everybody, if we were building anything, it had to be scalable, had to be global, had to be international, had to raise huge amounts of investment. And we did raise quite a bit of investment at the start. We just failed to raise the second round.
Okay.
But it put enormous stress on us, the business, the people that worked for us, our family. And I guess now at the time, obviously we were devastated when we had to wind down the business. But now looking back, I'm kind of glad we didn't get that second round of investment. I think this, look, maybe I can say that from the privilege of being 40 now, but this pressure, do you know what? Lifestyle businesses are like, we turn our noses up at that, certainly in the investment industry. And it's like, you're not ambitious if you want to set up a lifestyle business. You know, you don't want to grow if you set up a lifestyle business. It's like, where is the gap in understanding between the practicality of running a lifestyle business and the impracticality and the numbers around who will actually succeed in raising a significant amount of investment, building something quick enough, fast enough, stable enough, and revenue generating enough to become that big next unicorn or almost unicorn. Like
and there's nothing wrong with just
small.
wanting to live a comfortable lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much pressure. So much pressure. You know, most of the women that I work with are lifestyle businesses.
Yeah.
They do it because it gives them the lifestyle that they wanted. They don't want a yacht or a multi-million pound business and the stress of it all.
Yeah.
But they want to spend time with their kids.
Yeah.
They want to go have the holidays that they want, and they're probably earning the same or more money than they were earning in the corporate world, but they have more time.
On their own timetable.
And we can't buy time.
Yeah.
We can't buy time.
Yeah, that is. And I feel women understand that a lot more than men, but obviously, you know, that side of the investment world is so dominated by men, as we know. Like, why can't we apply some of the thinking around ambition and scale to lifestyle businesses?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anyway, it really, really annoys me. We had that experience over those 4 years of pretty much having business meetings on people's yachts.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We had so much exposure to that world. Sorry, because what I should say, what we were building was fashion e-com. There's no precedence for that in Ireland. Therefore, you know, we have a limited number of, you know, investment groups in Ireland. Anything to do with fashion and e-com was absolutely not in their books, not on their radar. And we knew the job ahead of us would be to try and raise investment, certainly in the UK, if not further afield. So we did all of our investment raising marketing efforts in the UK. And it was really through ultra high net worths. That was how we were going to get our first pool of money together. So ultra high net worths are like multimillionaires, billionaires. So we were in all of those glorified, rarefied meetings in private members clubs. Remember one time we had to fly to somebody's house, their country house in Suffolk, to have a meeting.
Actually.
You know, like eventually where we did get our funding from, it was Sir Philip Green Steps, and we had to have a meeting up in the, probably like, I don't know, the top floor of the Arcadia building, and his room.
I used to work there.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you work closely with?
No.
Okay,
I was actually a fitted model on the 4th floor.
Yeah?
Yeah. When they actually launched Arcadia, I still have the bottle of wine from the first day. Probably worth some money, actually.
Yes.
So I don't think they exist anymore.
No,
they've gone.
But that was like the exciting floor.
Yeah.
We went up to the not very exciting floor. Yeah. And we just, I mean, that meeting was an absolute disaster. We just encountered the type of wealth that you're just not accustomed to seeing on a daily basis, trying to access it, and also trying to access the gap in understanding between ultra high net worths and people who've got this great business idea.
Yes.
You know, the things that we would be asked, like, you know, just who is planning on getting pregnant soon? Is it wise to have an all-female founded team? If you go on holidays, are you going to be working too? Who's partners? Who's thinking about getting married soon? Will you be distracted if you have a child? Because we hear that once you have a child, they become the center of your world. All of that sort of stuff happened constantly on a regular basis. But it was also just this, like, they were always working all the time.
Yeah.
You know, like going to meet them when they were on holidays, taking phone calls when they were on holidays.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of expected. And I just, after that experience, was like, that is absolutely not how I want to work. Nor do I think you have to.
No.
You know, but that is definitely the way entrepreneurship can be presented.
It was definitely presented in the UK to me like that, you know, and presented very differently when I moved here in the early 2000s. Like, yeah, and I agree with you. You don't have to.
No. And I think that, because we were, like from the blog and going out on our own, we were living at such a high intense, like an intensity, a constant level of intensity and adrenaline, probably for 4, 6, like 7 years straight. You know, that is not good for your nervous system. It's not good for your mental health. It's not good for your body. But it's just the culture is like push through. And I think it took us, like we didn't wind it down voluntarily, if you like. Like we kept trying to run that for about a year after we ran out of money. Like as in we ran every last penny we could. We ran every deal we could. Or we somehow managed to convince our landlord to let us stay in the office for like 3 months without paying rent. All of this sort of stuff. We would pay all of our staff before we paid ourselves. But eventually when we realised that we had no other option but to wind down, let everybody go, wrap the whole thing up, I found out I was pregnant and I had no money and was in debt. And it was just not a good place to be in. And I had to move back home into like a garage beside my parents' house, which I thought at like 32 was the greatest failing of my life, you know. But I would say that level of adrenaline was in our systems probably for another 2 or 3 years after we wound the business down. So I had to go into a certain position straight away, you know, being pregnant and then having a baby. The others, not so much, but even I can say for them, they were.
It probably did you good though to be forced into that situation.
It did. When I was pregnant, I felt really low actually, because I felt this is not what I imagined. We moved from Stony Batter, not too nice, to Easttown. There was no internet reception. There was no phone signal. You know, I was like, God, I thought when I was going to be pregnant for the first time, like we'd be going out buying all the bits. And we had no money to buy anything, you know? And I had nobody really to talk to about what we'd just gone through. And I was under so much financial pressure, but I couldn't go for a job because I was visibly pregnant. And also, Shan, after all that experience, I was like, who am I?
Yeah.
What is it that I do?
And now I'm going to become something that I don't know anything about either.
Exactly, yeah. But so the pregnancy was a bit of a struggle, but afterwards, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I got to live beside my mom before she died for 2 years.
Amazing.
And I saw her every single day. And Luke thought Mom was his mother. Like, just best thing that could have ever happened. Yeah. And second best thing was a mutual friend of ours. You know, when you mentioned earlier, sometimes you just want somebody to tell you what you are, what you're doing. I really struggled with my identity afterwards. And Choopy, who is a very good friend of mine, came to me and was like, I don't know if you're ready and it might be too soon, but I think it would be amazing if you were to consider coming to us as the head of digital. So she not only offered me a job, but she told me who I was at the time.
Yeah.
And I will just be forever grateful for that. Like, that's not who or what I am now.
Yeah.
But she knew how
what
to
you
position
needed.
me.
Yeah. But she's a very clever lady.
She is, yeah.
Yeah.
She's very special.
So that's lovely and like to be, but like, you know, we always say everything happens for a reason and generally it does. And to have that time with your mum and how did your mum pass away, if you don't mind me asking?
She had stage 4 breast cancer. Yeah. And it was just picked up far too late to do anything about it. Like by the time they found, and my mum got mammograms.
Yeah.
So now so with our mum, she had what they call now dense breasts.
Okay.
There is no screening for dense breasts.
Okay.
It's just not discussed. I started to see a little bit more conversation about it happening, actually coming from the US. You know, even like the mammogram system is not designed to pick up anything with dense breasts.
Okay.
So she was getting her mammograms every year. And that tumour had probably been growing, I don't know, for like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So, and she was only 59 when she died. And I mean, if you, like any which way I'm talking about my family and my sisters and, you know, that confidence and how close we are and all of that was like from Mom just being the nucleus of our family. So
did you find, I know when we lost our dad, we became very close.
Yeah. So interesting, Sean. We became really, really close, but we weren't able to talk about our mom. Do you know? Like, which is surprising because the number one thing people said to us after our mom died is, you're so lucky you have each other. And we are. But actually, we still can't really talk about them together. Yeah.
It's only 4 years.
Yeah.
It will come.
Yeah.
And then, you know, because it is a process.
Yes.
And that will come later. And it will be joyous when it comes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But God, she left you so much.
Yeah.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
But, and so I have to ask though, how did you meet your husband? Because we skipped the husband.
Oh, yeah. When did I meet him? So interestingly, right, my partying days in DCU, I was really good friends with a girl from Dundalk who all of her friends went to UCD.
Yeah.
And there's a massive group of them. So we would socialise in DCU. I would socialise with my friends in UCD, and then sometimes we would socialise with all her friends from UCD. So actually, I met Paul a couple of times at parties when we were like 20, 21, 22.
Yeah.
But brief conversations, like never really anything more than that.
I love that. Brief.
Yeah. Passing conversations, you know? And then it was, I think when I was 26, 27, 28, met him again on a night out. And that was just it, yeah.
And so when you were going through that difficult time with your first pregnancy, because I often say, you know, sometimes we don't give them enough information, but how involved was he in that struggle that you were having over those 2 years? You know, what difference did it make when Chupi said, come with me?
I think I think it's so interesting, the partnership between like an entrepreneur, an entrepreneur and somebody very, very stable, an entrepreneur or somebody who's just like really career driven. I'd love to just do loads and loads of research on that. But Paul was always like kind of stable, consistent. And I think he really leaned into that when I was like going through all of that trouble, that the most important thing that he could do was keep things consistent.
Stable.
Keep things consistent, which he has done and continues to do. And it is like, you know, you can do anything, but a bit like my dad as well, like I don't really get it, but
just go
for it. Yeah.
I know you'll be all right.
yeah.
And you have 2 children now.
Yeah, 2. Yeah.
And so the move in, I know you've recently moved again. You're moving into a new place.
In the house, yeah.
Absolutely. And that's tough, isn't it? And it's stressful and everything else that goes along with it.
Yeah.
How do you balance everything? You know, like the career, the kids?
I don't.
But I think that's a great answer.
Yeah.
Because everybody goes, oh, well, you know, I do a bit of this, time blocking. Yeah. Oh, bullshit. I call bullshit on that. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think it's a problem not.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. First, I'm really over saying, you know, you can have it all and you can do it all.
Yeah.
You absolutely can. Something is always going to be sacrificed. And I think if we were just more open about the bit that you're sacrificing, being open about sacrificing and then like acknowledging to yourself the bit that's in decline.
Yes.
So for me at the moment, it would be like personal health that is in decline. I know that, and I feel, well, I can't do everything, and that is the bit that I have to put on pause for a little while I do these other things. And, you know, that's kind of a scary thing to be saying as you're like turning 40. It's like, it's time when you should really be plugged in, I think, and tuned into your personal health.
Yeah. I think some people, it comes to them easier when a lot of people don't even feel their bodies. And I think if, you know, like I went through long-term fertility, I really understand my body very, very well. When something's wrong, I know very quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm the first person to get to the doctor and tell them about it.
Yeah.
I don't go, that'll probably go next week. I'm not a believer in that. But that probably took me to my 40s, I would say.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely like, that'll go away.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean the full spectrum though. I mean like making time to, you know, go to the doctor, but like even just like physical health, physical fitness. Like I'm just like, I do not have time for that in my day.
Yeah.
But it is, I love Chupi always says this as well. It's a season. I'm aware of it. Do you know what I mean? It's not like this absolute chaos in my mind where I don't know what I'm prioritizing and deprioritizing. I know I'm building a house. Unfortunately, fortunately, if you could plan your life to the nth degree, I wouldn't be trying to launch a new business at the same time, but I am.
That's the way it works.
That's just it. I have, you know, one child who's about to start junior infants, and I've one going into first year, and they have been quite a bit unsettled over the last few years for multiple reasons, like the death of their grandparent on their mom. There's a lot of moving at the moment. We're like 2 weeks in this house, 2 weeks in that house, 2 weeks in this house. So I really have to look after them. And I am from a big family. Paul is from a big family. My dad is from a big family.
Yeah.
My mom was from a big family. I have a lot of people in my life that I'm trying to look after, you know, upwards and downwards. Yeah. All my sisters, there's a lot of kids now, there's a lot of nieces and nephews. So I'm just sort of like, look, I I know what I'm trying to build with my business. I know what the return is. Now, I really agree with the one thing we can't get back is time. Obviously, my mom's death has had a profound impact on me, on how I want to live my life. But I do really believe I'm putting the effort in now to get the gain back within a year.
Yes.
Not some abstract time in the future.
Yeah.
Like within a year. So it is a bit hectic at the moment. But I've had to just sort of say, okay, I can't put this on hold forever, but like I can't pretend that I'm going to be somebody who gets up at 5 a.m. to do a workout and remembers to drink the green juice. Like I just... I'll go the other way
absolutely.
in a little while, but I can't do it.
I'm extreme. I'm in or I'm not in. Like at the moment, people that get up at 5 a.m. are just coming across as wankers to me because I'm like, why would you? But then I naturally wake up at 6 o'clock anyway. So I'm like, get over it.
Such a crucial difference between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m.
And actually, I ran a gym for a decade, and so it had to get up at 5. So to do that because I want to, no, it's not with me at the moment.
No,
it might happen one day.
No,
but
definitely will happen for me.
No. But you know what? Now, so I love this chat because I really understand you so much better, and all the jigsaw puzzles that have come together to make this picture, and I think like, when you do a puzzle, you do the corners first.
Yeah.
The corners are there.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see you fill it in. But that's what you're doing. You're just filling it in.
Yeah.
So we have to sit down again in 12 months' time.
Yeah.
Because I now just want to see the central piece.
Yeah.
But it is amazing. Yeah. I mean, everything you've done is unbelievable, and it's brought you to where you are today.
Exactly. I would say, if you're talking about decades, like in my 20s, super enthusiastic but confused.
Yeah.
In my 30s, probably like just a little bit down, like always moving forward, but a bit like, who am I? Like what is my place? How would people describe me? Now, people still don't know how to describe me. And I am like, yeah, I work towards that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You can't box me in. The privilege of having had so many experiences, I questioned it all in like 20s and 30s. And now I'm like, how lucky am I to have had so many experiences, met so many different types of people, have so many different communities that I'm a part of. Just the richness of it all, And it will all fall into place in that middle piece of the jigsaw. Yeah.
And wow, like your kids are going to be super impressive because they will learn so much from you.
I hope so.
No, they will. Listen, let's go. I'm gonna ask you to answer. We're gonna answer one of these questions in here in the little jar. This is the last time I'm bringing the jar. I decided I bought a book today. I was like, I'm walking around with this jar for years.
You can put it in a brown paper envelope next time.
God knows what you've opened now.
Okay. Oh, like what is? Honestly, this is madness. Advice to your younger self: would you change anything about your journey?
That's amazing.
Was this? Do all of them say this, or did you know what I was going to say?
I don't know what's in them.
That is just such a beautiful note to finish on because...
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a nice one as well, but we'll leave that one in there. Because she put her name on it.
Oh.
Go on then.
Honestly.
Perfect way to finish.
Yeah, I really wouldn't.
Yeah.
I know that hindsight is a privileged position to be in because I can say that from the comfort and the confidence of now being 40. But like, even during my confusion, even during the darkest times of like, what am I doing with my life? I would never have changed a single step that I took. And I would have told you that in my confused early 20s, mid 20s, early 30s, mid 30s. No matter what I did, even if I didn't know what the end goal was going to be, it came back to me somehow in some way. Whether I worked with that person again, whether I got an opportunity later in life, whether it was somebody I could call up to rely on to ask for advice, whether it was somebody maybe even now backing me in a room that I'm not even aware of. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's the special bit, isn't it?
Yeah. I love doing that for other people too.
Yeah.
But no, I wouldn't change a thing. Everything is an experience. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is a mistake. Nothing is failure. Had I maybe wished that we didn't have to deal with so many misogynistic, chauvinistic men when we were in London? Again, probably no. Because that just made me even more determined to work with women and support other women and not deal with their bullshit. So absolutely wouldn't Wouldn't change anything is my
Perfect way to
dead
finish.
answer. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jenny. I love that. And we have to do it again.
Thank you. I loved having the chat, Shan.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much.
No worries. Cheers.
Okay, bye.
So thank you for listening to this week's BBell podcast. Don't forget, you can find us on social media. If you've got any questions, then please don't hesitate to DM us at bbell_wellness. You can also find this on our YouTube channel, which is my YouTube channel, Shan Horn. And don't forget, the more people that subscribe, the better that we can make this pod. So don't forget, like and subscribe across all channels. And thank you.